Hello you guys, as you guys know, today we're going to be covering the Athlon X3 450. What is it, you might ask? It's a triple core CPU. For those basically who wanted more than a dual core at the time, but didn't need a full quad core. So how well does it hold up? That's what we're going to dive into today. So basically, what this triple core had made me think about it was, as soon as I thought of the triple core, I thought of the Xbox 360. The Xbox 360 is a triple core, so I figured this might have been very similar to that. No, because the problem is they came out in two entirely different times. So one came out in 2010, one came out in 2005. So we're looking at these two different chips, completely different. I wanted to figure out why they had put out this chip, so I looked into it a little bit. Basically, at the time, we were looking at a lot of like dual cores and quad cores. So we wanted something that was a little faster than a dual core that can kind of cover that performance, but we didn't want to pay the full price of a quad core. So here comes in the tri-core CPU. So basically, AMD would put out this tri-core CPU. AMD would cover. It wasn't only Athlon. I mean, the one we were looking at was an Athlon, but they also had the Phenom 2 X3. So there was they had the 705, the 710, 715, 720, 740, and then they had the Athlon 425, 435. Right here, we're actually going to be covering the Athlon 2 X3 450. So it's interesting. We get a little bit of background why they would have made these triple core chips. Kind of what their purpose was, and that is basically just, hey, this dual core is running a little slower. Maybe we have more things we want to run, so we need more cores, but we also don't want to pay that premium. In 2010, I'm sure there was a pretty good premium between the two, between the dual and the quad. Now, it's not as apparent. I'm pretty sure, a lot of our chips are now like quad core, 6 core, 8 core, upwards of that now, depending on what system you get. It seems like they're kind of phasing out the dual core a little bit with like gaming computers, quad cores, it's kind of phasing out a little bit. But yeah, so basically what we're going to be doing today is doing a quick little rundown of the chip and how it performs. Just similar to my other videos, we're going to test it. I don't think we're going to be using Heaven Bench, but we do have the GT 730, so it should be a solid chip. Hopefully that'll be all good to run. Let's see what we have here. Okay, so I have to get. We're also going to be doing drivers. We're going to be setting up the drivers. We're going to be doing this performance test right here. This is normally what I'll do in order to get. Basically, this is normally what I would do to get a somewhat roundabout of where this processor performs, and we're going by a universal guideline. So basically, a lot of people test their computers. They put it on this performance test data sheet, or however, and then you're able to basically compare and contrast. Some CPUs, they work better than others, and some of the identical CPUs might even come up with a different score. That's what we're going to be testing today, actually. I might be able to run a Heaven Bench just because, we love Heaven Bench out here. But yeah, basically we're going to be doing performance tests. We're going to be setting up the drivers. Let me get right into that, though. Alrighty, guys. So before we get into the actual benchmarking, we're actually going to be testing and putting together the rig. Here you can see I actually have the AM3 Plus motherboard. I'm going to be putting that in with the triple core. I'll show you guys kind of what I use, what tools I use, what thought processes might be going through my head while I'm putting this all together. But what you would pretty much need to put together a computer like this, if you guys are looking into that. Alright, so we'll get right into it. Basically, we're going to need a screwdriver. Right over here, you see I got the heatsink. We have some parts for the motherboard. Usually the motherboard will come with this part here. Might need a little cleaning. We're gonna need some form of RAM. I got a couple RAM sticks to test out to see what works. So that's good here. These should work. We're also gonna need hardware, which you guys know I have my little hardware kit over here. We're gonna need the proper power supply. Now, this isn't like, I don't know much about it, you know, but for the most part, we need something that has specific cables. So this motherboard is gonna require very specific cables. This is a 8-pin CPU out, well, 8-pin CPU pin. So this is good. The motherboard requires 8-pin power. We have a 24-pin connector, that's good. We got some SATAs for the hard drives. Alright, some SATA connectors, very good. And then right over here you can see there's the 6-pin, and then there's actually an 8-pin in case we want to go up a little bit with the graphics card. I try to keep it pretty slim with these type of power supplies that I don't know much about. But to be fair, I've been using the power supply for a good bit of time, and I like the power supply. It seems to be doing pretty well. I actually cleaned it out pretty recently. Here we are. We have the N550 GTX. That's actually the GTX 550 Ti. This model came out, I believe, in around 2011. I try to keep it pretty like within the range of the processor, which the processor I believe came out around that time, 2011, 2010. So yeah, like I said, it's the N550 GTX. It's a Ti model. So we're gonna try this out, see if it works. It's got a 6-pin, so we don't have to worry too much about how much, you know, how much power it's going to take up. So we're going to start. We have this motherboard here. Yes, usually you just got to wear like a little wristband, make sure you're not shocking it. I like to be grounded in some way, so I hold on to the case. That's usually not like, I wouldn't say that's like the most sufficient way. I would always wear the band if you're trying to get, you know, trying to be safe with it. This way you don't, you know, shock anything. But yeah, so here we go. We're going to be installing this bit right here. Here's an AM3 Plus board. It's actually one of the nicer ones. They had like the 9, this is the 990FX. This would have been a little hard to get your hands on. It probably would have been pretty expensive back in the day. It's a pretty big board. We got to make sure it actually fits in here first. I don't know if I have the IO shield for it, but I'm not too worried. This is just going to be like a, you know, a testing rig. So I'm not too worried about all that. We're just going to make sure everything fits, make sure our cables underneath are out of the way. This way they don't get stuck underneath. Let's see. Okay, now everything's lined up. Well, we got to make sure everything's lined up. Okay, so everything should be around where I need it to be. So good news, we have a couple of these motherboard screws. If you do buy a new motherboard, or even the case, if you buy a new case, I would recommend getting something nice. But if you do get a nice case, usually they'll have the hardware with it if you buy it new. I just noticed something. Before we do any of this, we actually have to put the bracket on. So can't forget about that. So AM3 and AM4, it's a very similar bracket, but you don't want to mess this up. The AM3 Plus, the AM3 boards, they have these brackets. They're a little shorter, so if you try to put an AM4 bracket on, it won't fit. Basically, this is what I actually put together beforehand. This is it right here. It's a little on the dirty side. Actually, I have another tool. Let me grab that real quick. Here it is, guys. So we got the vacuum. I'll show you guys. It's one of the best tools I picked up. Alrighty guys, now that we got all that out of the way, we're going to start putting our AM3 Plus mounting bracket, which is also, by the way, different than your AM4. Your AM4 is going to be a little wider. If you try to put a AM4 bracket on an AM3 Plus, the two brackets are not interchangeable. It will not work. So yeah, you're definitely going to want to make sure you get the AM3. The AM3 is a little on the thinner side comparative to the AM4. There we go. We're just going to install this right over here. Right from the back side, that's the back plate. Okay. That looks good.
Okay, here we go. So we want to put our brackets on. They should fit in just fine without much effort. It might be a little bit of effort. Okay, so once we get the first one on, we'll be good. First one's going to be a little bit of a hassle. There we go. Perfect. So we get the first one in. I'm going to tighten that up when I get around to it. They both just fell out, but that's okay. Let's get the next one in. There we go. So, you know, I've always, I don't know why, but every time you get a new, so every time you get a new heatsink, they usually give you a new bracket. Especially if you get an upgraded heatsink, they might give you a whole new bracket. So that's usually why some of these boards don't have brackets. They might pull off that Evo 212 bracket or put that one on, and then when they go to give it to you, they take it off and keep the heatsink, which is great. I mean, it's theirs, but also they forget to put the old brackets on. So here we are. I forgot exactly who I got this from. I think I bought it from someone off the marketplace, the Facebook marketplace, but we probably just forgot to put the old bracket on once they took the their heatsink off, which is pretty normal. I do need that other. Oh, there it is. I'm gonna need that. Okay, so I got this here. They also have like those anti-static mats. I would like one of those actually. Very clean, easy to work on. You don't really have to worry too much. That's what I would be doing with this. But yeah, like I said, we're gonna actually tighten all these around. See, I love this vacuum I got too. All right, so what are we working with here? Like I said, we got the 8-pin right here, 8-pin CPU power. They used to be 4-pin, but as time went on, we needed more power for the CPU, especially if we're going to overclock. We're going to want that, you know, a bit more power, a bit more room to work with. It's nice. We got 4 of the RAM slots here, so we could put 4 sticks of whichever, as long as it's DDR3. Sometimes there's speed limitations. Some CPUs can only allow certain RAM speeds, you know. That's everything you'll have to look up. Here we have the 24-pin for the PSU. What do we got here? We have USB 1, you know, all USBs over there. We got our audio, which we're going to be working with. System fans, these are really important. A lot of these boards, especially the older ones, they really lack them. But here's 1, you know, 2, 3. So this one actually has 3 CPU fan slots, which is pretty nice. And there's even a power fan. Okay, that's cool. We got our SATAs up front here, pretty nice. I like this setup this week. It's creep them around. We got these nice VRM heat sinks and the bridge heat sink. It's very nice. It's a solid board. You can put several, I'm gonna say maybe not several graphics cards, but I see, yeah, it's probably a good amount though. I don't know what you would fit in here, but I would do, basically if you're gonna do Crossfire, I guess you go boom, boom. You know, and there's all these other peripherals. Definitely a nice board though, solid. Nice caps. All right, so let's get right into it. Doing a little bit of rambling. So funny enough, when the guy had shipped the processor, it looks like he shipped it in a little fruit little what are those? Let me think. He shipped it in a little gummy fruit snack box. So that was interesting. Little fruit snack box. I'll tell you, that's probably not the way you want to ship your processor, though. Hopefully everything's lining up soon. Make sure I got my fan. Okay, everything looks good. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Granted, these are going to be a little out, but I think that should be fine. I think that's alright. So let's get those all on. All plugged up. Basically, we need these little screws here. We're going to start screwing on. Get that rocking. Get these moving. Now, when you're putting these screws in, you want to make sure they're not cocked or anything. If they are cocked, then bring it out, try to pop it back in, because you definitely don't want to have anything scraping up against the board like that, because it could be really bad. You could actually ruin your motherboard. I'm sure there's a lot of things I do that probably could ruin the board too as well, but let's not worry too much about that. Like you do want to be grounded while you're doing all this. Alright, so we got that. I got a few in. Let me see what else I got here. Sorry about the mess, guys. This is pretty bad, but it's a lot. This is building a computer. You need a lot of parts. This is like my spare hardware kit. Comes in handy when you need screws, but for this one you got to be pretty specific with what screws you're using. Okay, so we might be missing a motherboard screw or two. Should be alright, but definitely recommend, they normally come with them, so just make sure everything's as sturdy as possible. Alright, so let's get this processor in if we can. I'll tell you, this is how it came packed. Granted, it was like a $5 or $10. Oh, we have one more CPU. Sorry about that, guys. One more screw, not CPU. I'm doing the corner over here. This is the worst. Oof, I dropped it already. Gotta be very freaking. I'm gonna grab that with my finger right here. Alright, because if I drop this one, it's gonna suck. And it's probably gonna drop. It's probably gonna drop. Oh, shit. How we doing? There we go, guys. Again, you don't really want to go too hard with these screws. You just want to get them in flush. You don't want to overdo it. You ruin, I think it's the traces in the motherboard. Alright, so I knew right off the bat there's going to be some damage to this processor. Look how they shipped it. I don't even know what this is, to be honest. Battery pack or something, but yeah, this is going to be rough. We're going to have to figure out how we're going to get this out of here without damaging it further. Damn. I think I got to just let it rock. Let me see. Oh, I got this right here. Let's see. Just real easy, because those pins on these will bend in a heartbeat. Okay. There's a little bit. I definitely had seen a bent pin already, so I know this might be a failure right off the bat. I really wanted to. I'll show you guys what I do. If it is bent, I might be able to work with it. If it's not, I gotta go through eBay. Let's look. Let's see. I hope not. I don't even like that there's like that adhesive residue on the top of this CPU, to be honest. That's not cool. It should be okay. I mean, it looks like there's not much. Okay. But let's check those pins to see how we're looking. Okay. All right. Now you guys can't see it, but there's this pin right here. It's a little off. It's a little off. They have like these scopes you could use where you can magnify everything to make sure everything's in spot. I've actually been able to, if you get like a little needle, you don't really want to do this unless you have to. A little needle, you can use one of the scopes if you want. I go by hand and just try to bend it a little bit, real easy with the little needle or something. I might actually be able to show you that. I mean, I don't even know if I have a little needle anywhere, to be honest, but yeah, we gotta let it rock. We have one bent pin, and that's not gonna be right. All right, so we gotta go real easy. It's so easy to ruin this board, this CPU, and this was all because someone decided to ship it incorrectly. Just hope this fits back in the socket. I gotta see which, you kind of got to angle it a little bit. This is actually one of the things that a lot of people are afraid to do, and I'm afraid to do it as well. But there we go. So we're actually bending the pin that is bent. We're trying to bend it back into a position that it's going to fit in the board and hopefully work. Otherwise, I gotta bust for a refund, which would suck. Definitely not what I would want to do. So I think we got it. It's a little cocked to the left, if you guys can see. It's going to be hard to see. It's a little cocked to the left, but I can see. I think it's going to be fine, but we're going to be able to tell right now. You guys ready for the moment? Alright, so we start. Hopefully this is like all clocked in. So we start over here. We want to raise that bar. Alright, we got the arrow. Arrow's got to be with the arrow on the board, which could be off. I think it's that way. I think it's that way. Pretty sure it's that way, but let's get it. How we doing? There we go. Okay, so with a little bit of bending, and we got it working. I feel like the Intel ones were so much harder. You try to bend those little stubs they got on the actual socket, it's super hard. This looked like it actually worked, so that's pretty sweet. Now, let me move a couple of these. So this one is going to be this one here is going to be hopefully our Windows. Normally I would put like Windows 7 on this, but I think it's got Windows 10 on it. Hopefully it boots right up, but we're going to see. If not, I'll have to kind of try to figure that out. Get a different boot drive. Let's get this power supply in, and we'll get it all wired up. See what we got. Okay, so fan, you want it to go, in this case, facing up because there's no ventilation down here. So you want that to face up. It might look a little silly. I don't even think I'm gonna secure it yet, because I would say the main thing right now is we test, because this stuff might not work. Honestly, I've never tested the board, never tested anything, so it might just not work. But we're gonna see if it does work. That'll be great. If it doesn't work, that'll probably suck. but it happens, you know, trial and error. There we go. Now that bend isn't great. That bend's not too good, but basically we would put another screw right over there. Alright, that should be fine though. We got that on. Alright, we need the 8-pin. We're hoping that reaches, and let's see. Will it reach? It's a little far out. Wires aren't like incredibly organized, but it's just we could organize them, but we don't have to worry too much right now, because this rig's probably going to be taken apart and put back together all types of ways. So screw it. Let's try these sticks. They weren't working before. They're 4 gigabytes each of 1333, but you know what? How can you go wrong? Hopefully they'll work. Let's get this going. Okay. Let me see. DDR 1, 2. Alright, so stick 1, stick 2, stick 3, stick 4. That's from what I understand from this little diagram. Shouldn't really, I mean, it does matter, but nope. I screw up. Okay, there we go. 2, there we go. Alright, so we got that. Now we have to get that CPU heatsink on there. So we're gonna do that. Key thing is you do not want to forget the paste. Normally I would wipe it down, but it seems alright, so we're gonna let it rock. Let's get it. Alright, so that's going to be a lot of paste for this thing. I think that should be fine. That's a lot of paste. I'm going to, what I usually do, I got a Walmart card. There's going to be a lot of excess paste because that's a lot of paste. I want to make sure it gets a nice full coat. Just make sure, I mean, even if it's thin coat, that's fine. I definitely use too much paste. I just want to make sure it all covers. This full coverage for me. Okay. That shouldn't be a problem. It's a little, like I said, it's a lot of paste, but we got some of it off there, so that should be all right. Normally I think they have like isopropyl used or something just to get that adhesive off the top, but if there's any issues, I'll literally just take it apart and put it back together. It's probably going to be taken apart anyways. Yeah, it's probably going to get taken apart again anyways, but here we go. Okay, now I don't know if you guys ever seen these before, but basically they're little brackets. There's going to be one on this side, one on this side. I like to put it basically one on the left side. Put this here. This doesn't have a lever, so this side has the lever. I put the side with the lever on first, and then you basically push down a little bit, try to get that other lever side down. Okay, so we're latched. There's a little latch right there, and we should be able to basically just kind of like seat that heatsink on there, and we're good. Perfect. Heatsink's a little small, but it'll work as long as the fans run. I'm happy as can be, pretty much. We got our RAM, our power supply, our CPU. We're working on getting our, get our little hard drive set up over here. Granted, I'm not gonna actually like install it into the case because we're gonna be moving quite a bit with it. Okay, so here we go. Let's get this going. Okay, there we go. So that's good here. Gonna pop that somewhere in there for now, no big deal. I want to get my SATA for that hard drive plugged in, so it's very hard to see, but basically we're gonna plug this SATA into one of these. Let's see, SATA 1. We're gonna want it in SATA 1. One issue, there's 2 black SATAs. Shoot. There we go. Okay, SATA's plugged in. Got the hard drive plugged in. Got the CPU, got the RAM, got the power supply. Next up, here we are. We have the graphics card. Pretty sweet. Put in the GTX N550 Ti. Try to put it all together. Yeah, so I'm gonna pop this right over here. I see there's already something to plug it in over here with, which is cool. A little something to screw it on with. Okay. So I gotta try to plug it into this X16 slot. Just want to make sure everything's correct. Okay, now we gotta seat it. Shit. There we go. Okay, we're in. Now you guys are gonna, you put it in the slot. You gotta make sure it's one of the X16 PCI brackets as well. Make sure you're not using an AGP card. So we're good there. Now I gotta figure out where I put that screw. There it is. Okay, so screws here. Now we're gonna find that screwdriver. Let's figure that out. Okay, screwdriver's here. We're just gonna screw this in real quick. Let's get this over here. Again, this is all pretty temporary. Is this even? It's a little cocked too. That's a little cocked. I don't like that. That sucks. Okay, that's rough. Shit. Alright, let's find another screw to use, right? So we just need something to get us in there to hold it on. Let's try this one here. I think this one should... no, you don't want to use that. Never mind that. Okay. This one should work. I wish I had a friggin' full-size screwdriver for this one. I'm coming in at an angle, it's coming in cocked, it's not good. There we go, guys. Okay, so we're in. Sweet deal. Got this covered down a bit. It's nice. So I can put these to the side because we're not going to be using any of those. We're going to pop this on here. We have our 8-pin connected over there for the CPU. Okay. So there we go. You guys ready to try to fire this thing up? I am not. Alright, so let's get this. I set it up to where the power button's external. Which is fine in my book. It should work fine. Now make sure you read your motherboard's labels. Make sure your power button, positive and negative, is connected to the correct area. I believe this should be the positive and negative on the top for this board. So this should technically turn it on once I get it plugged in. Next up, we're going to be doing the other USB stuff. Let's see what we have here. Alright, so we actually have the USB right here, which is solid. That's going to be our front USB. And this is like the worst freaking case I could have used for this type of video. Luckily, this is more like a brief portion of it. We're mainly just trying to show off the we're trying to show off the chip a bit and learn more about the chip if we can, which is pretty cool. So we got USB 3.0, the blue one. Some of these older boards didn't really even have 3.0, which always sucked. It's like you don't need it, but it's good to have. Alrighty guys, so we are back. It looked like the phone had, not the phone, but the GoPro had overheated. So now we're going to try to plug it in. We're going to plug the power supply in, and then we're going to plug the graphics card in. I think everything's pretty much set up. We got our USBs, our SATAs. Let's see, we got to figure out audio. But I mean, that's not like the biggest thing we got to worry about, I feel like. Yeah, we should be good on audio, actually, the panel audio. So yeah, let's get this here. We're gonna plug this in right there. I will eventually set this up, but I'm not too worried. I got this coming right from the capture card, which is pretty sweet. This allows me to plug in and out different graphics cards as much as I want, pretty much. Gotta try to, sometimes you gotta, there we go, you gotta kind of like move the GPU a little bit to get it to fit the HDMI just right. So if we did everything correct, can't forget that little power button there, it should start up. Fan should run. We just want to make sure, of course, before you set up anything like this. Oh, of course, my bad, guys. Always be doing this, I get too excited. Alright, so granted, I'll power that off real quick. Pop this on, power on. There we go. So we are moving. Looks like we're in a boot cycle. Okay. Fan's a little loud. That's a loud fan. Could just be the bearings though. So let's take a quick peek. I don't believe it's showing any output. Yeah, I don't believe we're showing any output. Let me double check. Okay, no output. Okay, make sure everything's plugged in correctly. We have no output, so I'm gonna have to redo a few things. The graphics card could possibly be faulty. Again, the RAM could be bad. We could have several things. The fan's loud as could be. How loud that thing is, shit. That's probably why I don't use this heatsink, it's very loud. Alright, well, we're gonna pause for now and then we'll come back. But yeah, so basically what I did was I installed this GTX 650 instead. It is a mini HDMI, so I'm not like a huge fan of mini HDMI. It looks like I installed it a little bit off. Let me see. Something's wrong with the bracket a little bit. I don't like the way that's sitting. Yeah. That should be better. Sometimes you gotta do like adjust a little bit. I'm gonna use the other screw hole, I think, for for this one. See if I can get in there. So this is gonna be like the moment of truth. It is possible this GPU does not work either, so after this, if this doesn't work, we're gonna skip right over to a graphics card that does work. These are both like parts that's not gonna function. We're gonna have to go back, make sure everything's plugged in, undo this. Okay. All right, now we go. You guys ready? Will it show signal? This is revving up, yeah. But still no signal, but I'm seeing maybe it's a cycling. Maybe it's a cycling. We're gonna figure that out. But yeah, no signal on this. So it could be the RAM. Let's replace the one stick of RAM that we got, I think. It could take a minute to post too. Sometimes that happens. I mean, there's a lot that could be going on that we're not seeing. The motherboard could be bad. I mean, let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna go and try and switch out the RAM, I think. Okay. Alright, let's unplug this from the wall. Pull that RAM right out. I think this might do it. Sometimes just, you know, bad sticks are bad sticks. That's usually like the first thing I do. Oh man, that sucks. I have to clean that off. That sucks. Shit. Let me see what I even have. Oh, what a wreck. Fuck me. Alright. Now we are back, guys. Alright, so I cleaned up that stick of RAM. That was very unfortunate. Alright. See what we got. I mean, it's a 2 gig stick. I prefer to use the 4 gig, but you know, you can't win them all, so let's get it rocking. I mean, since it wasn't plugged in before, we got I ain't even gonna worry about it. Looks like they got some switches over here. Oh, here we go. Okay. So we got this. I know there's a fan all the way over here. Is that the header I want to use though? System fan? Ah, screw it. Yeah, it's the header we're gonna use. Before my camera dies out a freaking third time. Alright. Let's get it. Pop this up. You guys ready? And it's unplugged again. Damn. I'm really doing pretty good with unplugging this thing. Shit. A little too good. Alright. Now let's get it. Fans up. Fans up. Kind of view for... See, that's a little odd.
So at this point I kind of recognized that it still wasn't working. So what I'm going to end up doing is basically changing out the graphics card. Probably going to change RAM just to, you know, double up. This is normally what I do. If I have any issues, normally I go right to the RAM. If there's no video output, I go to the GPU. Kind of vice versa. So I'm going to do both. We could start with the RAM and then the GPU. Could be another bad stick of RAM, could be a bad GPU. They are spare like I said, they are spare sticks and they're spare graphics cards. So we'll go and switch the graphics card. I'll show you guys what we do.
So thank goodness, guys, it looks like we finally got it going. I had to replace the RAM. I also replaced the GPU. I didn't want to use this one. This is one of the ones that I actually really like. It's a little weaker than 650 and the 450 What was it? No, the 550 Ti that I have in. So, but it is going. We finally got it running. So that's what we're actually going to be doing. I'm going to start the video up from here. Again, the last thing I would probably do is, again, plug this in, touch it up a little bit, do some wire cable management, and then I think we'd be rocking. I did actually end up messing up a fan for the CPU, so that kind of sucked. It was pretty loud though. I think it was on its way out and it clipped me, so I guess it happens. But yeah, after a bit of work, we were able to get the computer running. It is quite a bit of a mess, but again, just cable management. You're gonna use your wire ties, set it up in the back all nice, do what you gotta do. But yeah, this is the like I said, the Athlon 450 3-core. So we're gonna get into it. Thanks, guys. Be right back.
First, we're going to start off. Let's look at the. Let me see. We're going to be looking at the. Oh, sorry. The actual specs of this chip. So in order to do that, I just have to find the settings, stuff like that. System settings. Here we go. Trying to make it nice and quick for you guys. Alright, so here we are. We got the Athlon X3 450 processor, 3.2 gigahertz. I was able to install 4 gigabytes of RAM in the system, so it should be set up. We got the GT730. It's not the best chip. It's not the best graphics card, but it's actually a Yeston, so that'll do pretty well. But yeah, let's get it. So basically what you're going to do, this system's offline currently, so I had to use my other computer. You're going to go to their website. You're going to go to NVIDIA's website to get the driver. NVIDIA, they have a lot of good drivers. This one is for the GT730. Basically, I'm going to download this, and then you're also going to download your drivers for your motherboard. There's going to be several. I mean, most of the time, if you buy a brand new motherboard, you're going to get a download disk. Some people don't always have the actual disk drive, so that might be a problem for some people. But for the most part, you could normally go on their website and you'll be able to pick up whatever drivers you need. Audio drivers, LAN drivers. There's many other drivers. The motherboard might just need them. Updates, stuff like that is going to be where you're going. These you find directly on your motherboard site. Now, if you have a pre-built, you're going to be going through whatever brand you're going through. So you got to find the information, the name of your desktop, basically. Figure out figure out what it is. Like, is it a Dell? Is it a Dell Inspiron, like a 660? And that's how you're going to find out how you're going to pick up your drivers. You have to go to their website. Sometimes you might have to go externally if site doesn't have it, if it's like super old. But that you're not really going to be worrying about unless you're going into like classic gaming and computers, stuff like that. But for the most part, this is what you'd probably end up doing. Right now, we're downloading the NVIDIA install driver, display driver. Without this driver, the graphics card is going to react very oddly. You're going to play the games, things are going to look weird, it's not going to run right, you're probably going to crash a bit. These drivers update your graphics card essentially and help with all the errors and bugs and etc. that it initially came with. Same thing with the motherboard. I mean, you really want everything updated. If you don't have the sound driver, you might not even have audio, depending on the system. So that's a big problem, you know. Alright, so here it's probably going to have me sign into this. I might have to pause the stream for just a brief moment so I could sign in and basically get these drivers. But they have like the recommended, which, I mean, you can do that, or you could do a custom installation. Totally up to you what you want to do. I like to do a clean installation, so basically it clears the other drivers that were initially downloaded. This way you have your own specific drivers that you want on the system and not random drivers from the previous, however. But But yeah, it's important you get new drivers. This way you have better quality and you get to play the games as they're intended, essentially. So yeah, hopefully we can cover that down. But let me see if I can get into a little bit more with the CPU. I mean, we have a lot of different CPUs. I picked one of the better Athlon triple cores. Um, it was the X3 450. They do have the X3 455, which would be a little bit better, and then they have the Phenom X3s, which would be even better. Like I'd personally now, I mean, I really wouldn't pick one of these, uh, but at the time, yeah, I mean, that'd be cool. They got the black edition, unlocked multipliers. That's cool. Um, yeah, if I had to pick in 2010 what chip I would get, and it was going to be a triple core because I wanted to save a little bit of cash because it's like a budget friendly, I'd probably try to find one of the Phenoms if I could. It's pretty good. Black edition would have been the way to go. So, question is, should you use a tri-core CPU today? I think I kind of like covered this a little bit. In 2024, these CPUs are very outdated, even for basic tasks. So this CPU probably isn't going to be what you're looking for. Modern core, quad core, and 6 core CPUs from AMD. They have the Ryzen 3, 5, 7, 9. You got Intel. Most people use the i3 or the i5, i7, i9. They offer so much more performance. It wouldn't make much sense if you're trying to find a new rig. But if you're trying to find like a Windows 7 setup, this is probably the way to go. You want something older that'll run those older games. You're in a good shape right here. This is probably the chip you might want. Um, I guess if you already have one in the system in a PC, it would be good for like web browsing, light tasks. Might still work for that, but as far as like gaming, you're gonna have a hard time playing anything modern. I mean, even 2014 modern, which is like 10 years ago. Um, was it a sweet spot? I would say for the time, you're probably looking at a sweet spot for the tri-cores. Um, as far as benefits, like I said, they would definitely outperform some of the dual cores, being that you had that additional core at the time. It wouldn't run as good as the quad core, depending on the processor, of course. But at the time, you know, um, some of the games that might have been relevant for this CPU, not GPU, probably like Crisis, GTA 4, Battlefield, Bad Company 2. Um, One of the competitors at the time probably would have been like the Intel Core 2 Duo. And who would have been in the market to buy one of these in 2010? Basically, we would have had our budget gamers looking for a little bit more performance, enthusiasts looking to get a couple extra cores, general users needing a little bit of multitasking. Performance would have been the way to go. Alrighty, you guys. So, what we did was we just downloaded the GeForce Experience driver. Now we're going to be covering our audio driver. This way we have audio. I mean, it's probably not going to be super important. I'm only going to be playing for a little bit. But just for the stream itself, hopefully we can get some audio going. Alright, so it looks like we're getting a little bit of somewhere. We're finishing up our audio driver. After you download all these drivers, they usually have you shut down the system and then put it back on, and then you got to update another driver. You might be able to just update, then wait, and then shut down, restart, set it up again. Honestly, I think that would probably be good too. You might be able to, depending. You guys could see the fun. This is what I've been waiting for. Driver setup. A lot of the times when you get like Windows 10, Windows 11, they download these drivers for you already. Um, Not the graphics drivers, but they do come with their own like packaged graphics video drivers. It's just not the ones you. I can't necessarily say if they're good or bad, but I'd always prefer to go through the actual company, so AMD or Radeon for that. You see, it wants you to restart the computer. I'm just gonna restart later. All right, so you guys ready for this? Yeah, we're gonna try. Sometimes when it restarts, it stays shut off, which kind of sucks. Um, I might have to go back down there and get it going by hand. We're gonna see in a moment, though. Nope, backed up, back up. I'm excited. I mean, this motherboard, definitely an interesting board. At the time, I really wanted one. It's a 990FX AM3 Plus board. Now, I started off in about 2012, 2013 with a 760G. It was a 760G. Hopefully that'll do it. It was a 760G BioStar, and that thing overclocked like a maniac. Seriously, that thing was great. Let us see if we got that audio down. It looks like we got somewhere there. It's no longer red. Okay, so I can't hear it, but I do see it's changing. You guys could probably hear it. hmm So on OBS, there's some things where it's a little difficult to. I mean, you just got to set it up basically where you can hear your output that's coming out of it as well. But here, it's just going to be basically an input directly recorded. So you guys could hear it, but I might not be able to, which is fine. I mean, it's not a big deal. Um, but yeah, we're gonna be testing. Let's see how this little three core does. It's like I said, it's a three core from 2010. So I don't really know what we're gonna be looking at. Look at that number of processes set in preference is not optimal for your current system. Yeah, we'll figure that out. All right, so we got says we got like mad hard drives. Little 250 gigabyte. Let's see what we got here. GT 730. Got that set up, so everything's good. It's being recognized. 990FX was at the North Bridge, I think. There we go, guys. There's the Athlon 2 X3 450. Measuring at 3.2 gigahertz. Nice. We got a full 3 cores we're working with. Alright, so let's get it. Again, we're going to be running that CPU mark. I want to get like a roundabout of how it normally runs. Let me see. I'm going to look up right now how this chip normally runs and what it should be looking at, what we should be looking at. Let's see. All right. So all right. So if everything is correct, we're going to be looking at a multi-thread rating of 1869 and a single thread of 1300. If we can get above these numbers, we are better. This chip is better than the average Athlon 540. Was it the 450? My bad. So this chip is better than the standard Athlon 450. Sometimes they just make them just a little bit better, like a hair better. Um, but that would be really good if that is the case. Just being able to see this, it's very far off your main chips. Like today we have the Ryzen 5 3600. You're very far off between what that can run and what this can run. That chip is pretty bare bones chip. It's a great chip. It's not why am I saying bare bones? It's a solid chip. Nowadays, it's a very good chip. So it's a Ryzen 5 3600. It scores around a 17,000. 17,000 for the average CPU mark. While this one gets an average of about 1869. So that is much better. So your modern day CPUs are quite a bit better than this CPU is. But in 2010 we might have been doing something different. But so yeah, here we go. Let's see what we got here. Our CPU mark, we got a 2075. Okay. It looks like our single threaded was a 1338, which um, honestly, that's a little better than what they got in here. This one, the single threaded rating was about 1300. So we managed to get just a tad bit better. That's pretty sweet, I would say. But our CPU mark is, it's a 2075. The one we had on here was a 1869. So overall, we did get a bit of um, just a better chip. I mean, just by a little bit, not by much, but it's a bit better. Um, yeah, we got our pass mark of 513. We're in the 6th percentile. It's still a pretty weak chip, but you know, it is what it is. It's a chip that was made for that time and made during that time. But yeah, let's see. I got a GT 730. Let's see what we could do. I'd love to be able to put a game on this or something like that. I really thought this was going to be the 360 chip. It's completely different. Um, you know, at the time they had like the dual cores. I don't know if they had the quad cores in '05. I'm sure they might have, but yeah, they had like the dual cores that were more popular, like the Athlon 64. We're gonna be doing a little video on like the equivalent to what would have been the 360 at the time. So we're doing a PC equivalent. That's gonna be my next video, hopefully. I'm also gonna be doing a video on Windows 98. It does include DOSBox. Alright, so quality's rough. Let's see what we're looking at here. Let's fix this up a little bit. We got to go low quality, DirectX 9. Um, yeah, it's rough. The GT 730 is like a low end, pretty low end for that time period. Even when this came, I think the GT 730 came out in what 20. I'm gonna say 2016. Let me see real quick. Let's see what we got here. That's better. That's better. Okay, so we're gonna do the benchmark real quick while we do that. Let me figure out the GT 730's release date. While we do that, we can watch a little bit of this here. Release date. Here we go. Alright, so it was released in 2014. That was my initial guess, but I said 2015 just in case there was a bit of a gap. Yeah, so it is running rough. It's running rough. I wish I got to get hardware monitor on here too. That's going to be the way to go, just to test everything. Let me see. Okay, so we're going to have to quit out, I think. Oh, what am I doing? So, yeah, here we go. So yeah, we got to quit out. We're going to set up DirectX 9. While we're here, let's should we get hardware monitor? I think we should. Okay. Alrighty. So here we are. We can kind of look at what we got here. 1.4 volts on the CPU V core. CPU 45 Celsius, not bad. System 32. Um, CPU fans are spinning, which is good. It's always good. We got looks like 50% of our load is being used for RAM right now. Um, it's not bad. Everything looks pretty good. It looks like the CPU is being a little overworked. Like I said, this I wouldn't use like a Windows 10 operating system on this. I would use like something older. Um, Looks like the CPU is going at full blast. Um, see, utilization is our work hours. GPU's at a toasty 50, not too bad, not too bad. A cool 50, I should say. So we're gonna be watching these temps, watching the maximums. Pretty much everything's been, you know, pretty much what is it? Thermal paste. So everything's been, all the thermal paste has been updated on it. Alright, so I think this should be okay. I still think we're going to have an issue. I think I'd probably have to run like an older benchmark with this. But let's see, let's see. I should probably run an older benchmark. Let's see what we could do though. The GPU is good, but it's good for a GT 730. Yeston made like more higher performance cards for that for their specific ones that they did. So they would take the GT 730 and they would overclock it or whatever the case was, but they would make it so much better than the OEM ones. So that was always nice. Let's try to cut out a few more things. GPU monitor. Yeah, I think that's probably our way to go. It's still going to be a little rough. We're not even getting V-Sync. Okay, so now with a few adjustments, and we switched over from DX9 to OpenGL. Figured that might help a little bit. We took out the volumetric shadows to cover down a little bit of that. Right now, we're basically on our top right. We're going to be keeping an eye on the temperatures. Making sure the clocks don't drop. They really shouldn't drop all that much. If you see drops, there could be an issue with the card. Could be an issue if you're overclocking and you see a massive drop where it's not sustaining or staying stable with that clock. That could be an issue. You probably don't want to overclock as much, or you want to turn it down a bit, or take the overclock off. This way you're stable. You want to stay stable. This way you don't ruin your card. This is a Yeston card. I've just having this one. I mean, if you want to look, I have the GT7, literally a GT 730. I think versus the 730. One of them's like a low profile. This one's like a full size, single slot. But you'll see this the 730 performs very well. The 730 Yeston performs very well compared to the, I believe it's the EVGA one. I think it's just maybe because it's like the full size compared to a small little, low profile. The cooling's way better. The performance is way better overall. You are paying a hefty price, though, I will say. This Yeston card on the Yeston website right now, I just looked just before, $99. I don't know if that covers the shipping and handling. I'm not sure. But yeah, definitely a solid card. Definitely, it's a pretty solid brand. I mean, pretty solid brand. Again, little screen tears, but it's to be expected. I mean, you got this GT 730 was like the low end. It was like a low end card in 2014, so it's just ultra low at this day and age. Again, I decided to use the capture card from the PCs that I'm using, so I'm using its own computer to get all these benchmark numbers, which is cool. This way it doesn't affect the actual benchmark. So the computer is completely running as it's intended with no additional software except hardware monitor, granted. But that shouldn't be all that much of a pull either. As you see, it's running okay. I think there was some older versions. There are some older versions you could run. That probably would have been a better bet. Run some older. But alright, so that was it. Do I really want to run it again? I don't know. Maybe we'll have to. Shoot, I should have just stuck with it. Actually, you know what? I think we're going to go over to the benchmark for the 3D. I think that's going to be our bet right now. Alright, quit from the application. So we were getting between 20 and 30 for the most part. I mean, we were sitting at like a 25, I believe, 23. Not very optimal for Heaven Bench. But there's other editions. I could have got an older edition. I think that would have been our best bet. Let's go back to performance test. We're going to try our 3D mark. Let's just run it. I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to run the entire 3D test. Let's see how we do. Look at that. Even for a GT 730. Still able to run something, which is good. Alright, so DirectX 9 ran. We got DirectX 11. Again, these tests are more like the GT 730 heavy. This is going to be a graphics card heavy test. And DirectX 12. This one's probably not going to run, to be honest. Let's see. I mean, the GT 730 might still have support. And oddly, it still looks good. I don't know why. It's literally like we're getting 5 cores, not 5 FPS. That's pretty crazy. There we go. So I think this one might be a little bit of both. Always love these benchmarks. These are fun. Oh, this one's fun. Doesn't look as good as the other cards we have done on this channel, but okay, so it's very, it's in the 10 percentile, which for a GT 730, that's really not that bad. It's still pretty bad. But yeah. So yeah, what do you guys think? Do you guys like this? You guys like videos like this? This is like I said, the GT 730 kind of going up against performance test and heaven bench, as well as the CPU pass mark. I think it did all right. I think, like I said, for today's day and age, it's definitely very outdated. I think this definitely wouldn't be a chip if you're looking for something brand new. Um, if you're looking for something to run modern titles, you're going to want something like the i3, i5. You're going to want the Ryzen 3, Ryzen 5, something like that for like your budget area. But yeah, thanks again, guys, for watching. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed. On the next video, hopefully, not the Windows 98 video. I'm going to be trying to do that. But the Xbox 360 equivalent video, we're going to have a lot of benchmarks. We're going to be basically taking all of the Xbox 360 titles that were put onto the PC, and then we're going to try to play all of those and see if it'll actually run them. And chances are, it probably won't. It probably won't. Because, like I said, the dual core, tri-core thing, it probably won't. I'm going to be having to look at probably a dual core from 2005, 2006. That's what I'm going to be picking up. It probably won't be as powerful as what the 360 has, but we kind of got to go by what they had at the time period, and that's just what we have. The graphics card, I mean, we could work with it a little bit, but still, we got to be like time period correct. So it's going to be difficult. If you guys have any ideas of around about what I should be looking at, I think we have to go even newer. I mean, if I'm looking at 2006 graphics cards, I don't think they're going to play half of those games on that list. I was thinking the first game I thought of for the equivalent would have been like Skyrim. No, probably not. I don't think it's going to run Skyrim. But could it run Oblivion? Maybe. But that we're going to get into on our next episode. Thanks again for watching, guys. I'm going to have my Robinhood, my first trade at the bottom. Feel free to like and subscribe if you like these type of videos. I'm going to have a lot more content coming out. Really excited to get that Windows 98 video out, and also the Xbox 360 equivalent video. That should be within the next few weeks. Thanks again, guys.